So, I have just returned from my trip to Russia. I started in Moscow at the Red Square, headed to other cities and ended up in Saint Petersburg. Living la vida loca. I had a nightly adventure in the Red Square in Moscow. The students there celebrated their graduation with a concert and fireworks. I thought a bomb was exploding somewhere. I thought I couldn't get closer to the Red Square, but I went around and walked around and all sorts of things to try and get a closer look at it. And I ended up next to Gum, the department store, the one with the lights here. And all the students came running out. It was some part of the graduation thing. It was really nice, and I got to see all the amazing fireworks there as well. That was very cool. It was very nice seeing all the students because it made it seem like the Russian weren't that much different from Danish or European people. Put a much more grounded feeling around the experience. It was an unbelievable night. Every time I turned a corner, something new happened. Fireworks, musicians playing, and it was just very weird and very fantastic, and probably was my favorite bit of the trip. It's actually happening. I'm inside. The time is now over 1. Let's continue. Guys, I did it. Look what's behind me. Previet Russia. Animated after those students graduating with a party on the stage being torn down here. It felt like quite an accomplishment getting into the Red Square after 2 hours standing outside in the cold. The rest of my time in Moscow was spent in the Moscow metro, where there's so many mosaics that's gilded with a lot of gold. Just look at the architecture, it was absolutely unbelievable. I also visited the longest escalator in the world. We then took an overnight train from Moscow to a city called Novgorod, means new city. It was quite an experience for me. It's been a while since I've been on one of these trains. Novgorod has one of the oldest Kremlins in Russia. It's very medieval, and because of the age of the city there's a lot of churches, and I mean a lot. Just look at this map, that's insane. And they also have Russia's oldest church and some millennium monument thingy celebrating Russian history. I have to admit, I had an illusion about Russia being very cold, where in fact it was about 40 degrees every day. I was very glad to have a river nearby to dip in. The next stop on our trip was Pushkin, where a lot of the palaces the Romanovs used to live are situated. The main reason why people take the day trip from Saint Petersburg down to Pushkin is this though, the Catherine Palace. It's pretty amazing. Just look inside it here. There's so much gold, so much art. It was simply just utterly beautiful. And the hallways there, they were pretty as well, but look at this telly on the bottom. It's just ruining the illusion. We also spent part of our time in Pushkin on a bicycle trip through Pavlov's gardens. It was about 10 kilometers I think, and I was pretty tired by the end of it because we'd been walking around 30 kilometers each day, so this was pretty much the last straw, but it was very nice, and we got to see Pavlov's palace as well. It's a bit smaller than the Catherine one. Very nice, very classical in style, as was towards Baroque, and we had to wear these shoes everywhere we went. Really great. We finally arrived in Saint Petersburg, the reason for my being in Russia, pretty much. We went on a boat trip, and because of the white nights, it didn't really get dark at night. It was very cool. And we saw all the famous sights. and the bridges being open for the night, which is something they do every night in St. Petersburg, but only during summer people actually turn up. We also got to explore St. Petersburg on foot, seeing the cathedrals and sculptures and of course the Hermitage, the Winter Palace. We walked up that oh so famous staircase of the Palace Museum and saw the grand rooms inside. They have a lot of fantastical pieces in their art collection, but the most grand thing about being there was actually seeing the rooms. They almost overshadowed the art pieces, which is a bit of a shame maybe, but couldn't really be helped. Look at these apartments and rooms, just utterly mind-blowing. They also have some more simpler rooms with Picasso and Matisse and Van Gogh and all those contemporary artists in them. And it was nice to see them in that light. We also saw the oldest standing structure in St. Petersburg, Peter's Capping. Also being explored was Peter and Paul's fortress, and inside the cathedral sounded like this. I also visited the Yusupov Palace where Rasputin was murdered. And seeing the rooms was pretty weird, knowing what had happened there. Walking up that staircase where he was chased. I do think it was almost my favourite palace though. Very beautiful. And since it is a tourist highlight thingy, we did go into the Church of the Spelled Blood, and it was beautiful, but it was a bit weird seeing as it's not really used for anything religious, just for tourists. I spent my final day with a Russian girl called Anna on a flea market and then went home.
Y'all, listen up. There's an echo in his room.